so we are here at Starbucks in Times Square. And for those of you guys that doubt the power of LinkedIn, I came up with this concept with just meeting up with Jen. And I was like, Jen, I don't want to come to New York City and then like blow you off because I'm meeting 100 different people. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to say it in a video and I'm going to open it up to the world. And look, this is everyone that's shown up so far. Philadelphia, Jersey, Brooklyn, Connecticut. So we're like coming from hundreds of miles here. And so the power of LinkedIn, power of video, and power of putting yourself out there in the world. So I love you guys. We're going to have fun here. And we have a little podcast. So we have people coming in and out on the podcast, a little hot seat podcast. So yeah, enjoy you guys. I love you guys. Peace out.
What's up, guys? You're listening to the Zack Scriven podcast, Times Square edition. I'm here with Jen Collings. Jen, thank you so much for taking today off to meet with me in this crazy meetup. And we just kind of talked about this, like a week ago on the phone. And you posted your first LinkedIn video like a week before that, and it's just kind of crazy that we're standing here talking. So and so thank you, listeners, for tuning in. If you guys are here, if you guys were here, you would see we're looking out into Times Square. There's sirens and jackhammers and people, and it's crazy. But with this microphone and our headphones, we're kind of in our own little bubble, and so we're just going to get a chance to talk. And like I said, we talked on the phone, but now we're actually getting to talk in person. So this will be pretty cool to get to know Jen a little bit more and figure out how her story can help inspire us and inspire others. So Jen, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's really cool to be here in Times Square. It's like the sights and sounds of New York City. And like you said, we're in our own little bubble and people are kind of looking at us wondering what's going on. So this is really fun. And I have to thank you first and foremost because you were the one that inspired me to post my first video on LinkedIn. And it was only 2 weeks ago. And the ride in 2 weeks has been unbelievable. It's been crazy. The connections I've made, the people I've met, the genuine authenticity of everyone has been just unbelievable. So thank you, Zach. I appreciate that.
Yeah, so it's so weird when you meet someone that you've watched their videos because it's it's weird. It's like you know them. And kind of when I met Finn yesterday, Finn actually looks younger in person than he does on video. So that'd be kind of cool. He hopefully he should be here later as well as some other people. So so I don't know. I kind of don't really have a full plan on how I am planning on doing this podcast, but I want to keep talking to Jen and then maybe have some other people come in and out, and then we'll socialize like normal people, but for a while. But so tell me a little bit about what you do right now and how you anticipate using content and video to kind of pursue your passion, and what is your passion?
Yeah, so I am currently an executive assistant working in a company, and I've been doing that for about 11 years. And I love it, but it's not my passion, and it's not where I feel that fire in my belly. And I finally decided, only back in February, that I needed to kind of go back in my memory bank of all the careers I've ever had. And the ones that really fed my soul were when I was teaching dance, when I was speaking to the public. I used to do promotional marketing and travel across the country with different companies, and I was also a car show spokesperson. So when I was up talking to people, it was the after connections that I made when I would just go out and just speak to people that were listening to our messages, but then I would connect on a more personal level, and that's when I felt like that's where I belong. That's my purpose, is talking to people about their life, letting them know that they all have goals, passions, and truth. And that's when it hit me, and that's when I started Believe Your Truth. So my hashtag is Believe Your Truth. And that's what I do. I inspire people to believe that they have a passion, that they have goals, and to be unafraid to live them and to be unapologetic about it. Just go out and live your life. We have one life, so why not live it, be happy, and love doing it?
Yeah, I love that unapologetic because, I feel like sometimes when we're gifted with something or a passion and we're almost afraid to take advantage of it or to live it because of how others might feel. Kind of like how when I was flying here in first class and, I was unapologetically documenting it and sharing that, not in a way to boast, but in a way to inspire others kind of to it's okay to enjoy life and be happy. And my fiance is a flight attendant, so it's not like I'm raking in the dough and I can afford it. Eventually one day, may I be able to afford those, but I can fly for free. So it's why not take advantage of that or build a life around what it is I want to do, which is travel, meet new people, talk, grow my podcast, help others to find their passion. And, I think the world would be a much better place to live in. So, Jen, tell us about how you got here this morning and where you're from.
So I am from Connecticut, and my husband was nice enough to take the journey with me into the city, spend the day with you, and it's nice. I have a lot of support, but this is my journey that I'm on, but he's my co-pilot. I asked him to, it's not his dream, but I said, hey, this is my dream and we're a partnership. Come on in and be a part of it. So we drove in this morning. We have a couple people that said they're going to meet us here today, and just exciting to get out and meet people that, like you said, you meet people over LinkedIn and you watch their videos and you have conversations with them in the comments and then on the direct, the messages. But it's like when you meet people face to face, that's when it really goes, oh wow, this is bigger than I thought, and it just kind of puts you out there more, realizing that you are inspiring people along the way. And Zach, you have so many followers and comments, and I think it's amazing what you're doing. And you brought up in a video just recently about your Asperger's, and I think that's an amazing thing, and it's part of your story. And I think that's where we both go back, is we all have stories to share, and that is kind of what makes us real and authentic. And so if we're willing to get out there and share these stories and not be afraid to do so, we can inspire other people. And so that's why I wanted to come in today, to meet you face to face and just talk more about that. Yeah.
And what Jen didn't mention is that she actually took today off of work. So Jen's boss, if you're listening, she is coughing up a storm right now. She's definitely sick. I have to stay on the other side of the table from her because I just don't want to catch anything. But no, in all honesty, I'm glad you did take this time off, because, sometimes you do gotta, step outside your comfort zone, step outside your normal workflow to actually, experience something that is, it's like almost transcending time, gosh. When you posted your first video, so we were messaging back and forth, and then, you're like, oh, I'm thinking about posting my first video. And I'm like, well, what's your passion? And rather than responding, you just made a video. And that's stuck in my mind forever, because, most people, they're afraid to kind of take that leap, but you just, boom, did it. And then, I message a lot of people try to connect with me, but bam, you stuck in my mind. And now here we are meeting. So that's, kind of a tip out there is do something that's going to stand out, right? Grab someone's attention. And it's going to make a meaningful connection. So, thank you for your husband grabbing us a couple coffees. So I got a cold brew. And what are you drinking, Jen?
This is a almond milk latte with cinnamon.
Awesome. So let's take the headphones off and chat for a little bit and wait for some other people to come up. But we're going to keep this podcast rolling, and we don't even know who's going to show up yet. There's a couple people. So love you guys. We'll talk to you soon. Bye. What's up, everybody? Zack Scriven here. We're back. We are rolling in Times Square. Zack Scriven podcast. We have Liz Brown that just showed up in the house. So Liz, I'd love to know a little bit more about what you do. I guess you found us on LinkedIn. So yeah, Liz, share with the podcast listeners a little bit about your story, and then we'll go from there. Thank you for showing up, by the way, too. That's awesome.
All right. Yeah, I'm really little, so I'm going to try to get really close to this without knocking it over. So my name is Liz Brown. I'm here from Philly. I'm originally from upstate New York, so I come through New York City a lot. My background is in user experience design and tech. So for the past 4 years, I've been running a tech company in Philadelphia. Became pretty well-known globally, have clients all over the place, but me and my co-founder split. So I decided to start going kind of ham with making videos and content and things like that. And I got a tip from some random person who goes by the handle Wallow267 from Philly. I went to a Damon John event. He shouted out Wallow267 in the audience, and me and the other person I was with went to go talk to the guy, and he had given me a tip to start posting on LinkedIn. And I was like, no one does videos on LinkedIn. I don't know if that seems like the right idea, because I've been doing a lot of stuff on Twitter. And my following on there has been growing pretty fast. But I started doing videos pretty consistently on LinkedIn since January, and now I'm doing daily videos on IGTV too. I'm just kind of experimenting, seeing what's going on, and I just thought that your story was also pretty interesting, and coming from the tech community and trying to do something new and that feels uniquely like me just seemed like the right thing to do and meet other like-minded people.
So, yeah, I think that's awesome. So would you, like, what kind of opportunities, like, other than being here right now, like, what other opportunities and things have you come across from LinkedIn video, from, IGTV, or just in general putting yourself out there? I'd love to know, like, specific examples of what's come from that and where you see that going.
Sure. Actually, video has done so much more for me than just writing has. I didn't think that I was going to see as much positive feedback and response to doing video as I have. So since I started making videos, I've been getting a lot of people writing me thank you letters and things like that, and saying, not so much in the comments. I realized that the comments don't really matter as much as the personal messages that I get. I've also found out about LinkedIn Local through the bunch of different feeds recently. So I started a LinkedIn Local in Philly, but more so focused on creators, because I've noticed that there's a growing community of LinkedIn creators, but there's not really any support yet for us. So I wanted to try to start doing something different with LinkedIn Local. So I'm trying to do those things, but I've been finding all kinds of opportunities. I do coffee dates all the time. Probably every single week I'm doing a coffee date with somebody that watches my videos.
So, my favorite color is purple. And so to kind of paint a picture for you guys, Liz has like a little bit of blue in her hair. So if you guys haven't seen her in person, links below to her videos. But yeah, would you explain to us what's behind your blue hair? I'd love to know.
It's kind of funny because I decided, since I'm in this transitional period, that I'm starting a new company, I'm doing all these videos, I'm meeting all these new people, that I would start just being myself again, because I haven't dyed my hair since I was like 17 years old, and I just turned 34 yesterday, so I mean, might as well have fun this summer, right? So so I just decided, hey, you know what, purple is also like my favorite color, and I told them to just go crazy, so they did purple, green, and blue, and it's just been rinsing out for the past few weeks. But I started doing crazier stuff with my hair since South by Southwest, because I've been wanting to go there. This year was my first year going, and I was a speaker, so I was like, I got to stand out. So that's when I started to do more fun, exciting things. Yeah. That's a great story. I love that. I love your hair, and just like you said, being yourself. I think it's such a shame that like the corporatized world kind of has like taught us to keep all that like self-expression and really who you are in a box, and I don't think it does anyone any justice. And kind of one story, that my personal story, I did a parody video, and I used to do parody videos when I was like 15, 16 on YouTube. And I kind of stopped, right? Like my dad told me, and nothing against him, it was just kind of what the world was at the time. He's like, oh, you're going to have a hard time getting a job because, you're pretending to drink in this video and you're acting like a jackass because you're, doing a parody. But anyways, yeah, I did a parody of Jeff Larson, and that video like resonated so well. Like people loved, like it got like 150 comments. Jeff commented on it, and in his comment got like 50 comments or up likes. So it's like, when you actually are your authentic self, like people can tell. And so, words of advice out there, just be yourself, like dye your hair if that's your thing, do parodies if that's your thing. So Liz, thank you again for coming, and you'll have to let me know when you do like a LinkedIn Local Philly, because I've never been to Philadelphia, and I love Philly cheesesteaks, and I don't know, I want to go to Philly, I want to travel the world. That's why I'm doing what it is that I'm doing, so I can do stuff like that. So closing notes. I guess my closing note would be, you can do anything you want, because I've been traveling the world for the past year, speaking at all kinds of events. And it's kind of crazy. If you watch my videos, you'll see a little bit more of what happened to me last year and kind of why I spiraled out into doing a lot more talks. But I really think that anything you set your heart to, you can do. I'm a very positive, motivated person, and I love your energy as well. So I'm excited to be here and meet you. Looking forward to seeing what else you do too.
Thank you, Liz. And it looks like Finn, Thomas, and Lee just showed up. So We're going to socialize and we're going to jump back into the podcast, so stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, Paul Meijer in the house, all the way from Connecticut. I'm going to pass the mic over to him and figure out what it is he does and why the heck he would drive all the way out here to Times Square, center of the universe. Passing me his, so he's the white tablecloth marketing service, social media management, photo, video production, websites, email marketing, online advertising. Oops, nice little card here. So, Paul, thank you. Interesting, it's Meijer. I was thinking Meiyer, but interesting. Paul, thank you for joining the Zack Scriven podcast. Thank you for coming out here. Say hello to the audience.
Okay, hello, audience. I love LinkedIn. I pretty much live on LinkedIn. Found it to be a great source to meet people, make business connections. And I've actually done business through LinkedIn, getting by a lot of gatekeepers when you walk into stores. You mention somebody's name that you connected with online, and all of a sudden the door opens up and they're happy to see you. And I loved your parody also. That was pretty cool, the video that you did. So what I do is I spent the last 5+ years on the road as a road warrior selling marketing for large corporations and living out of a suitcase. So you leave the house Monday morning, you get home Friday night. In the blink of an eye, 5 years went by, and my wife and I were having a conversation one day, and we realized that there's a lot of stuff we missed out on. And I didn't put two and two together, but when we did the math, it was 5 years. So I decided in November to quit my corporate job and pursue my love of marketing and working for myself, which has been probably the best move I've ever done. In January, I started the white tablecloth marketing services, and my wife laughed. She says, "You're always hanging out on Facebook and social media, and you finally figured out a way to make money with it." So what I do is I do online advertising. I create video and photo content. While on the road, I met a lot of contacts, a lot of them in the restaurant world, and my photos to date on Google have been viewed over 117 million times, I believe, with my most popular photo being viewed about 3-point-something million times. So working for yourself, it's kind of a mixed blessing, okay? You're off every day and you work every day, both at the same time. The Sunday or Tuesday or Wednesday doesn't really make much difference anymore. You're always on call, right? And if you love what you do, like yesterday I was involved in a fundraiser with the Sunshine Kids organization, a group that takes kids with cancers out on trips. Sometimes, most of those trips are without the parents, so the kids get a chance to build bonds with other kids, and the families get a break. So yesterday's fundraiser was a fishing trip, a deep-sea fishing trip. And it's just a humbling experience to be able to spend time with kids like that. If you want to find out more about the organization, it's sunshinekids.org. Great organization. So I spent filming video and taking photos of that event, which I'm going to put together a production. But this is off of working till 5 a.m., finishing up a project that needed to get done because, as usual, the technology acts up, but you still have to get the project done. So that's what I mean by it's a blessing and a curse at the same time. You work for yourself, and you don't have anybody to answer to other than your clients. But it's incredible. And when I saw that you were coming out here for this event, I said, most of this stuff is across the country, and it's not always easy to plan, but 2 trains from New London to New Haven and then to New York City, yeah, I could do this. So it's very exciting. I'm glad to be here. Thanks a lot for putting it together. And connected with Jen recently on LinkedIn, and happy to meet her and her husband and some of the other people that are here.
Awesome. Yeah, that is amazing. And honestly, I'm truly blown away and humbled by the people that are here. And just it kind of goes to show you gotta you gotta go and do what you want to do despite your own inhibitions. And it's almost like our duty, it's like our obligation is to fulfill what it is that our destiny is, and the only one that's really going to stop us is ourselves sometimes. And I planned it with Jen, to meet up with here, and I could have just left it at that, or maybe put one post. And it's no, I got to get the word out. This is for the community. It's not for me, and I'm truly blown away. And so thank you. And like you were saying, it's a blessing and a curse. You know, when I first took this leap, I actually went to an event put on by Goldie Chen, which probably everyone on the LinkedIn community has at least heard of or seen her green hair. But I went there, and it was in downtown LA, almost like not quite as epic as this, but you know, large buildings, and I love the large buildings. But anyways, I was filming a video, and I said, I kept saying this one scene over, and I went to like different spots, and I just kept saying it, like almost trying to drill it into my own head. Is like, my goal is to travel the world and not feel like I'm having to work a day in my life. And it still sounds weird, but it's like I'm actually doing it in a weird way. You know, obviously there's work, and so, you know, take it with a grain of salt. But I really do love what I'm doing, and I can tell you love what you're doing too, because you're here right now. And so I just hope the audience kind of gets that. And you know, like I said, we're here in Times Square. We're looking out. We get this hustle and bustle, and I feed off the energy of other people. Like, I love being around people, and that's why I picked Times Square, because it's like the center of the universe, and you can't really get bigger than this. I mean, maybe some other countries, like maybe like Hong Kong or something, might come close to this, but yeah, New York City definitely has a special place in my heart, and so I'm gonna pass it back over to you.
And then another great thing, like I said, I've met a lot of great connections on LinkedIn. And I connected with a guy last September named Jason Gerasomovich, or Jason Geras, from Geras Associates. And, you know, when you're right, it's a journey, and nobody knows where or how or when the turns come. But meeting Jason has been really amazing, because he's got a couple of great products, okay? Next Sale and Next Review. These are two apps that any business can use to spike their social media, get their reviews up. And I met with Jason. I drove out to Albany last week, and he and I forged a business relationship, and I'm now the associate director at his company, in addition to the White Tablecloth marketing services. And so, yeah, you just never know. You need to take a leap of faith, do what you want to do, and just go all in. If you'll pardon my French, if you don't put your balls on the table and go for it, you're never going to know if it's going to work. So, appreciate the time.
Thank you, Paul, and yeah, congrats on that new opportunity. That's awesome to hear. Yeah, put your balls on the table, and you know, just get swept away in it. Like, it's almost kind of like a fantasy. But if you keep living that fantasy, if you keep dreaming it, if you keep going after it, it's going to keep going, and it's going to keep growing. And yeah, it's amazing. Thank you guys. Next up on the Zack Scriven podcast, Undetermined. We'll see who wants to jump in next. And we found a victim, Thomas Reck. He is from Finn's apartment. He's also from Germany. So I'm going to pass the mic over to Thomas. He's a little bit quiet. I kind of saw him last night. We're hanging out, and you don't say a whole lot, but you look super excited to jump here on the podcast. So I can't wait to hear what it is you have to say. So Thomas, thank you for being on the podcast.
Yeah, hello. My name is Thomas. I'm 18 years old. I'm from Germany, and I'm still in high school in Germany. I came to New York just for the summer. I don't know why, just to improve my English, to do what I want. And now I'm working with Jay, is another guy from our apartment. And yeah, that's what I do. I need to go back to Germany in like 8 weeks, finish high school, and then I will probably come back. Yeah.
Awesome. So, like, I saw you had a camera. Like, maybe explain a little bit, you know, what your passion is, and kind of, you know, I know you're young, so you're still trying to figure it out. I mean, we're all still trying to figure it out to some extent. But yeah, what are some of your passions? What do you see yourself doing after working with, you know, guys like Finn and Jay and everyone at the apartment?
My passion is just to photograph, just to be creative, to capture moments on my camera, to show people what I do, what I can create. And yeah, I just love to take photos, to like freeze this moment on my camera, to tell a story. And yeah, this is what I love.
So is this your first time in the States?
No, so I was in Los Angeles and San Francisco like 2 years ago. Yeah, but that's my first time in New York, and I love it. Yeah, best city in the world.
So you like New York City better than those cities, but also you say better than any city in the world?
Yeah.
And in like 2 sentences, why would you say New York City is the best city in the world?
Because like everybody here is from another country, has a different background. There are so many interesting people. You can learn so much every day, and it's just amazing. Yeah.
Awesome. So, Thomas, thank you again for being on the podcast. Closing words of advice. Even though you're young, you still have advice to give to. I think everyone has advice. Like I learned from my daughter. So, what is your words of advice for the audience on a parting note?
Just do what you love, follow your passion. Don't listen what other people say. Just do what you love, what you really like, and be happy.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Thomas, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Jacob Lebovits in the house. He's from New York City. He stopped by and, he saw the post. And, I'm very honored and blessed that you came here and, having a chance to meet you in person. And, so why don't you elaborate on what it is that you do and how you do it?
Sure, and likewise, it's actually very much an honor for me to meet you as well. That was one of the reasons why I actually turned around my schedule to be able to get over here in between the places that I do go to. I actually do a bunch of things. My main hustle is that I'm Director of Community Relations for an assisted living facility, so I go throughout a lot of the boroughs, actually all 5 boroughs, primarily Brooklyn and Staten Island, but I do dabble a little bit in the city depending on how it's looking, traffic and parking-wise, of course. So I figured, once I saw the post, I figured I would make today a city day, and I would stop off and, network and meet and introduce and actually see the face behind the camera or in front of the camera, depending on how you look at it, and, build lasting connections, because that's what it's about.
Yeah, interesting that you said boroughs. That's an interesting word that I never heard of, but based on the way that you're dressed, I would have thought you just walked right over here from Barclays, like right down the street. So, what is the boroughs and assisted living, and like what do you do for, like, tell me a little bit more about what you do for them.
Sure. So the boroughs is basically, New York City is broken down into 5 boroughs. There's Manhattan, there's Brooklyn, there's Queens, there is Bronx, and then there's the forgotten borough, which is Staten Island. Only forgotten because not part of the subway system, but you know what? It's got its blessings and its curses because of that. But basically what I do is, for people that are getting discharged from rehabilitation centers that don't have where to go, they don't have the proper placement, they don't have the right support system to be able to go back to, and they need some assistance, minimal, not as much as somebody that would get stuck in a nursing home, but also not independent enough to be completely on their own. It's somewhere in between. It's a little bit of a gray area where there's support. It's minimalistic in the sense, if you think of the grand scheme of things, but in doing so, it allows them to have a lot of independence. And the other thing that I do as well is the company that I just started up the past couple of weeks, which is Scale My Story, which is basically, in essence, telling the stories of companies. Instead of doing it the way that other people do, a lot of people like to do it from the bottom up. I don't focus on the company. I focus on the leadership of the company, because when it comes down to it, the leader's journey is what has shaped their ethics, their morals, and their values, which is what reflects into the morals, ethics, and values and inner and external workings of the companies that they lead. And that's something that I've just started up as well. And actually, part 1 of the first post it's called the Scaled Video, that a specific service that has been provided, just was released on LinkedIn yesterday. So you should definitely check it out when you do get a chance. But I'm just happy to be able to keep on chugging, and I have my espresso here, which everybody gasped at when they saw the size of it. I'm not even going to discuss that. But again, it's just an honor.
So I find that very interesting, and I like that. What I really like about this community and the people that I'm meeting is, like, we all kind of are doing a similar thing, but in different ways. We all bring our own unique story and background. We all have our own spin on it. Like you said, you're going from the top, C-level down through the organization, because really that is what defines what the values are of that company. And so I want to talk a little bit about, like, what are the companies. Like, obviously you don't want to go work for like an Enron or, like a shady company, right? You want to work for a company that, like, is true to your core values. And so, like, tell me some of the what are some of the values of companies that you work with, or what it is that you're looking to work with, and how that affects the company culture.
Absolutely. And it's funny that you say that, because I was just having that discussion with somebody else last night who had said, oh, so, now that you're starting to do something that most people that I know of aren't doing, you could just go and do that with whoever is going to pay. And the truth is, I said to him, no, I'm not going to do that, because that would go completely against what I'm believing in. And what I believe in is that what counts more than anything else is compassion. What counts more than compassion is nothing. Everything else comes from and stems from compassion. And therefore, the main industry, I think, that could best take advantage of the value that I have to offer, and not only that, but be able to share the value that they have to offer, is the healthcare industry. I've had the experience that I've had and that I currently have as well. So I understand healthcare. I understand residents and patients. I understand families, because I'm part of a family. Anybody who has ever had any family, or even a parent, which literally is anybody that has ever been born, can understand the significance of somebody's unique and incredible journey from childhood up. And it's funny, actually, because in healthcare, it doesn't always seem like there are many leaders out there that do necessarily share those values. And I'm not saying that they don't, and I'm not saying that they don't exist. In fact, what I'm banking on and what I believe in, and again, maybe I'm jaded, maybe I'm not, but what I believe is that even those who seem to look like their focus is the bottom dollar and, making the green, that's only a product that has come from the way that they've created their organization, the way that sometimes the bottom understands or translates the vision, which sometimes doesn't translate or understand the true vision at all, and sort of puts their own spin on it. But what I truly believe is that anybody who has gone into healthcare, even if it was in addition thinking, hey, I can make a buttload of money out of it, the real core is that they want to help people. Because anybody who can run an organization can run an organization anywhere. And actually, that is something that a wonderful person who I just met recently, who is actually on my first scaled video, Renee from Aristocare, she actually said it better than I ever thought that I could possibly explain that. And I'm actually using or paraphrasing her words, but the core values that are there in running an organization are not the same as the core values that are there in running an organization solely focused on healthcare. And somebody who can run an organization in healthcare can run an organization anywhere. But it takes a certain type of person with a certain type of heart and understanding and compassion and desire to do good and to help to be able to truly succeed and to have a story that can be scaled and should be scaled. Because let's face it, a story is only as great as the audience that wants to hear it. Nobody wants to hear in healthcare about, hey, I got this much money, or I got this much beds filled, or I got this much reimbursement. That doesn't speak to somebody. And you know what? If you think that that is the focus and that's the focal point and that's what to be proud of, that's not something to be proud of. In fact, that's something to be concerned of, that's what you believe you could be proud of. What you can be proud of is being able to say, this number of patients, this number of residents successfully discharged, successfully became independent, have continued to keep on chugging, and have continued to build upon their story, create and write new chapters, and to assist in creating and writing new chapters in the lives of all those around them.
Awesome. So I like that, like you said, a story. I mean, really, a story is not a story until you tell it. And I think, like you said, you're banking on the fact that those stories are there. You're just going to go out there and get them and help those leaders explain those stories. And I see it really driving to obviously there's the marketing aspect of it, right? And as a healthcare patient myself, like, I think I'm gonna prefer to go with a company that is not just profit driven, but actually cares about the people, right? So, Finn, say what's up to the Zack Scriven podcast. Say.
Hello, hello. What am I saying?
Say what's up.
What's up?
Finn, everybody.
Hello, people. And I'm now actually gonna head out. I'm sad that I can't hang around these people anymore, but this was a very good thing, Zach.
Thank you.
You know.
Thank you for stopping by and bringing your friends, and awesome, man.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see each other later today again, because you're sleeping at our place, so. Yeah, maybe we won't let him in. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah.
Thanks, Finn. We'll see you, man. Okay, so, right, so a story's not a story until you tell it, and really, so I see it driving two purposes, is like obviously the marketing aspect, but really it almost is like a culture builder, right? And so within the organization itself, you have the power to create like this culture and build up like some positivity within the workforce and really move not only externally but internally as well. So are you kind of seeing that, or do you see that potential for that?
Absolutely. In fact, one of the services that I do provide, there's actually a whole bunch of services that I've come up with that most of them are unlisted only because obviously I don't want to overwhelm anybody, because when it comes to readability or listenability, it's all about trying to keep the fluff out. And when it comes to providing services are not product. Product, you have to post, or you have to have, or you have to list as many as you possibly can for variety. But this is more of a niche. This is something that is more specific to something that would call out to somebody who can benefit from it, who can use it, and who deserves, I guess you could say, to use it. I know deserves is a harsh word, but there is that aspect as well, because again, it's all about the values of value and compassion that's involved. But one of the services that I have listed is what I like to call scaled consulting. And hey, check it out, I'm photobombing a selfie, or not photobombing, he knew that I was doing it, sweet. But what is basically scaled consulting, and what that is, the nitty-gritty is obviously way too long to take up airtime, but the basics of it is after the introductory service of scaled video, after you see that, yeah, your story is unique, your story is something that is relatable, your story is something that resonates, and it's something that people want to hear and, you know, drink up the words of, because it's so incredible and it's an inspiration, whether you may have seen it beforehand or not. Once you realize that, once that's something that has come to light, that opens up the door to realize, in terms of scaled consulting, which is now you as a leader have already seen the benefit that a story has. Now it's time to show the rest of the company. And how are you going to show the rest of the company, and why are you going to show the rest of the company? You're going to show them by having the company understand, forget about the C level, let's talk about the D level right now, okay? The D level, that way I'm able to consult them to explain your vision, to explain the ins and outs as to how it came about, what were the specific points of it that created such the compulsion, is that the right terminology, compulsion, or the compelling aspect of your story, to be able to make it something that can be scaled, that can be marketed, and that can be used to your benefit. Once that comes to play, once I'm able to give consulting to your D levels of your different departments, what that focus would be on would be understanding more of the nitty-gritty, more of the depth of the story, and when they consider and determine different policies and procedures that they're going to write up or put into place or implement, or whatever terminology you want to use, it's all the same thing, again, fluff. It's something that would allow for the correct direction to be made and implemented, to be able to have those true values continue to trickle down from the top, and not just trickle, but open the floodgates and the waterfall. And then forget about that, or don't forget about that. What's even more incredible, in my personal opinion, my absolute favorite, is the scale shop, which is basically a workshop for the ground level of each of those departments that are customer facing, that are external facing, that can learn, and that I can teach them not just your story, and not just the added morale boost, of course, and understanding and realizing, hey, he and she both were people too, and they were people just like me, and we're in that same situation, and it's a sense of empowerment. But besides for that, and in addition to that, I'm able to teach them how to use not just your story to the benefit of the company in terms of the service that they provide and the products that they offer, etc., but how their stories as well can be seen as something that can be scaled for their benefit, as well as the benefit of the culture of the company, as you said, and for the benefit of marketing.
Jacob, thank you for sharing that. We're gonna close it out here and socialize with the rest of the group. No. So, thank you guys for listening. Jacob, parting piece of advice for the audience.
Parting piece of advice for the audience is just remember, you have a story. Your story is unique. Your story is you. Your story is everything that you've experienced up until now and everything that you're going to experience moving forward. And I don't mean moving forward in a year or 5 years or 10 years. I'm talking about from the next second after I stop speaking, continuing on every second, every time that you make a decision, every time that you blink as opposed to closing your eyes or open your eyes as opposed to blinking, you've made a decision that will have a lasting effect and continues to create the uniqueness of your journey and to create an impact on everybody around you to be able to keep on chugging and just be you and be true. That's all I could think of saying. And of course, feel free to reach out to me to, partake in my services.
Yeah, links to everyone who was featured on the podcast today will be down in the description. Like Jacob said, be you and be true. I like that one. And, thank you guys for listening to this special episode of the Zack Scriven podcast. We're going to close it out here and socialize a bit with the rest of the group. So thank you guys again for tuning in. We'll see you guys in another episode of the Zack Scriven podcast. Peace out.